Ever wake up thinking your biggest problem will be running out of coffee, and by sundown, your wife is nearly handcuffed in the driveway by a neighbor over a parking dispute? Yeah, welcome to our life. What went down on our quiet cul-de-sac didn't just flirt with absurdity. It broke up with reality entirely and shacked up with legend. And if you've ever wondered just how far HOA lunacy can go, strap in, because this was something else. My wife, Elena, well, mostly her, had been counting the days for a long overdue vacation. Not some exotic trip, nothing fancy. Just a sacred 2-week stretch where time slowed down, alarms didn't exist, and putting on pants before noon wasn't a requirement. She had everything planned. Garden projects, a binge-worthy Netflix list, and an absolute ban on work emails for 14 blissful days. That Tuesday, the sky was clear, I was hammering away on my laptop, and Elena was just shifting her SUV so I could go on a quick grocery run. The front tire rolled maybe 2 inches, 5 centimeters tops, onto the shared portion of our driveway. And that's when she appeared. Karen, you know the kind. HOA president. Starch khakis. Button-down shirt embroidered with HOA president like anyone could forget. Her face was the color of fresh concrete, and her glare could strip wallpaper. She approached, ruler in one hand, clipboard in the other, like she was about to cite us for a felony. She shouted violation, so loud I saw a whole flock of birds evacuate mid-flight. Elena, still in pajamas and halfway through her first cup of coffee, sighed like a woman who had endured far too much and simply said, "I'll move it." Calm, reasonable, normal. But reason doesn't live in Karen's house. Instead of letting it go, Karen physically blocked Elena from reaching the car, flipped open her clipboard like she was reading off charges at a military tribunal, and coldly announced, "Too late. This is your 3rd warning." Elena's jaw shifted slightly. I know that look. That look means there's a storm coming. Elena responded slowly, firmly. "Karen, we've lived here a year. You've never said a word about our parking." Karen's face turned the color of eggplant rage. She started snapping pictures with her phone, barking about photographic evidence, and how she'd had us on her radar for months. Meanwhile, through the curtains next door, I caught her husband Richard mouthing a quick sorry, before vanishing like a ghost, his primary function, as I would later learn. Think I'm making this up? Ask Frank, 2 houses down. He watched Karen try to have the Johnsons arrested for leaving their trash bins on an hour past pickup, screamed at a newlywed couple for painting their door an unapproved blue, and made poor Mrs. Smith cry over sidewalk chalk her grandkids drew. This wasn't about rules. This was personal. All because we bought the house she wanted for her sister. Paid cash. 50 grand over asking. Sealed the deal before she could pick curtain rods. Since then, everything we did was apparently a declaration of war. The next 48 hours were psychological warfare. At dawn, I opened the front door to find full-size traffic cones blocking our driveway. In the center, zip-tied to one of them, was a laminated HOA enforcement sign. Elena, barely awake, started calmly documenting it all in a small notebook she'd been quietly filling since day one. Then came fluorescent orange violation stickers, slapped across our windows like radioactive warning signs. Everything from a slightly crooked mailbox to a garden hose that was visible from a road. That night, she got on her personal PA system and blasted a neighborhood-wide alert. "Be aware, criminals among you." The neighbor's dog howled for 3 hours. By the next morning, things went full theater. Karen showed up at 6 a.m. in what can only be described as a knockoff police uniform, probably bought at a Halloween clearance sale. Navy shirt with enforcement in shiny iron-on letters, a utility belt stuffed with dollar store gadgets, and a fake badge that said HA Enforcement Officer. She paced our sidewalk with a plastic walkie-talkie that probably wasn't even turned on, scribbling in her notepad like she was undercover in a cartel takedown. By noon, a homemade eviction notice appeared on our door. Chief of HOA Enforcement Division was the signature, complete with threats of legal enforcement action. Elena finally laughed. First real smile I'd seen in days. Then she added it to her ever-thickening binder titled Karen's Greatest Hits. But the crown jewel came Sunday night. Karen set up a folding table on our lawn, called an Emergency Neighborhood Watch Meeting. She printed up an entire fake utility belt, complete with real metal handcuffs. 5 neighbors showed up, none of them looking like they wanted to be there, but definitely not willing to miss the show. And that's when Karen made the mistake you can't walk back. Monday morning, she set up camp on her lawn. Lawn chair, snack tray, sun umbrella. She even live-streamed her stakeout to a private HOA enforcement group, which, Frank later showed us, was mostly just with fake accounts. She narrated the whole thing in a British nature documentary voice. Subject emerging from the habitat, a.k.a. Elena walking out in flannel pajamas to get the morning paper. Karen sprang up, blocked her, and declared Elena under citizen's arrest for repeated HOA violations. She pulled out those same metal cuffs and started quoting some warped version of Miranda rights. Elena, who had been silent, suddenly shifted tone. Calm, measured, cold. Karen, what makes you think you have the legal authority to arrest anyone? Karen puffed up, talked about her training, which consisted of a few episodes of Law and Order and a 3-hour online webinar on citizen law enforcement. But she wasn't backing down. She called 911, swore up and down she was facing a dangerous suspect with a deadly weapon. What kind of weapon? The operator asked. Karen pointed at the SUV. That, she said, she could run me over. Is she inside it? The operator asked. No, but she could be. Then she demanded police backup. Who's arresting her? I am, she barked. I'm the HOA enforcement officer. That's when 2 cruisers rolled up. 4 cops stepped out. And then Karma, the lead officer, Martinez, looked at Elena and froze. Sheriff Rodriguez, he said. Yeah, plot twist. My wife Elena, not just a homeowner. She's the county sheriff. Martinez's boss. The boss of every officer on that driveway. Karen stood there, fake uniform, badge, and handcuffs, suddenly realizing the whole neighborhood was filming. The metal cuffs slipped from her hand. The silence was thick enough to carve. Martinez, trying not to smile, asked Elena if she wanted to press charges. Elena just shrugged. Let's see how this plays out. Karen wasn't done. She screamed conspiracy, claimed the whole thing was staged, said she was the real victim. Then it got funnier. She filed a formal complaint. Hired one of those ambulance-chasing lawyers you only ever see on bus stop benches. She started a social media campaign claiming Elena was corrupt. She even edited a video to make it seem like Elena threatened her. At the next HOA meeting, packed house, standing room only, Karen came in with a full presentation. PowerPoint slides, poster boards, charts of our grocery run schedule. Evidence included Elena's coffee mug, allegedly a potential weapon. Then Elena stood up, laid out a stack of documentation. Photos, audio recordings, HOA notices, and a police report where Karen was the one listed for impersonating an officer. Then came a mic drop. Richard, Karen's husband, walked in, handed Elena a USB drive. She doesn't know the garage camera records audio, he said. You should hear this. It was damning. Dozens of recordings. Detailed notebooks of how Karen planned to force us out. The vote to remove her from board? Close. 26-24. 5 nervous board members clung to her like barnacles to a sinking ship. But Elena wasn't bothered. Internal Affairs opened a formal investigation. Detectives combed through everything. Karen popped champagne on her lawn, thinking she'd won. But it unraveled fast. Turns out Karen had made 23 false 911 calls in the last 5 years, filed 47 bogus police reports, impersonated officers, forged citations, even wrote fake restraining orders at previous HOA. Then the DA stepped in. Charges began to stack. False reporting, impersonating an officer, attempted unlawful detention, financial fraud. At the next emergency meeting, Richard announced she'd spent over $$6,000 on her fake cop gear and tried to siphon HOA fines into her own account. The second vote? Unanimous. Banned for life. The neighborhood let out a collective breath. And you'd think that'd be the last chapter. Nope. Karen went full delusion. started uploading conspiracy rants, barricaded herself inside, transformed her minivan into a fake cop car, spray paint, sirens, megaphone. At 3 a.m., she marched up our driveway in full costume, armed with a water gun painted black. Tried to arrest Elena again. 6 actual officers tackled her. Neighborhood clapped in pajamas. Right there, Richard filed for divorce. The board held a flashlight meeting on Frank's lawn and banned her permanently. Street's been peaceful ever since. Karen did 6 months in county. 3 years probation. Banned from HOAs forever. The Mitchell house? Sold to 2 civil rights lawyers who specialize in HOA abuse. Fitting. Elena finally got her backyard barbecue. Richard brought his new girlfriend, someone who actually likes him. And us? Sometimes Elena parks just a little over the line, because now no one dares say a word. Because real authority? It's not in a title or a badge. It's standing up when it counts, and knowing the people around you will stand up too. Now, you tell me, was justice served? Or did the whole world just spin off its axis? Drop your wildest HOA horror stories below. Because after surviving Karen, I need to know we're not alone.